Happy New Year 2025. It's going to be a great one. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
RX Television, RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. We are wishing you a happy new year, a happy 25. This episode recorded on the first day of January of the year 2025, and we hope you all make it a great one. Before we go to the questions, we have a sale right now at speciesnutrition.com. If you go to speciesnutrition.com, enter promo code NY30 for the New Year's, NY30. You get 30% off the entire site. If you spend $70 or more after the discount, you get a free bottle of Testalize as well as a free shaker cup. This deal is going to expire tonight. So this episode is going to go up, say, around 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, U.S. Eastern Standard Time. At that point, you're going to have about 10, 11 hours remaining to take advantage of the sale. It is our last of 2024 and our first of 2025. So take advantage, get your New Year's off to a great start. Stock up now at speciesnutrition.com. Let's go to the questions. The first two questions on this show from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. First question. Actually, there's only one question, I think. Do you have to gain body weight all over to put on arm size? For example, would you have to go from weighing 225 to 230? Okay, never mind. So that was the first. This is all kind of jumbled up. So yeah, do you have to gain body weight all over to put on arm size? Example, if you were to go 225 to 230.
I mean, you would ostensibly think that you'd have to gain some body weight to put on size. You're not going to just put muscle on just your arms. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen like that. You know, just like, you know, I mean, I guess if you didn't train any other body part, you could do that. But I mean, when you're training, you're going to grow all over, essentially, you know. So when I would put, you know, you put a half an inch on shoulders, you put a half an inch on your chest, you know, you put an inch or two on your back, and you put, you know, a half an inch on your arms. I mean, that's usually how it works. I mean, it doesn't just happen in one body part, like I said, unless you just like really stop training the other body parts. I don't like the whole idea of like where people say, you know what, I'm only training my legs because I'm doing wellness now and I'm too big. When you don't train a body part, it just doesn't look good. I don't care if it has to downsize or not. If you don't train it, it doesn't look good. Remember that. Another thing I wanted to bring up is with the sale, a lot of people haven't tried our Testalize product, which is probably one of the best testosterone optimizers on the market. Notice I don't call it a testosterone booster. It optimizes testosterone, because what you're doing when you naturally enhance testosterone in your body is that you approach it from a few different, ways. You can, yes, directly stimulate some testosterone production, but the best way is to, number one, get rid of some estrogen, because estrogen is what shuts down the hypothalamus in your brain. And that's the organ that actually tells the pituitary to release LH and FSH, which tells the testicles to produce testosterone. So if you want to produce more testosterone, you got to turn that hypothalamus on. Best way to do it is get rid of some estrogen. Testalize binds up extra estrogen, pulls it out of the body. Another thing is when you actually make your testosterone in your body, some of it can convert to DHT. Matter of fact, a lot of it converts to DHT, or dihydrotestosterone, which we know in excessive amounts can cause hair loss in the head, prostate enlargement, acne. So Testalize has a really, really high potency saw palmetto extract in there that inhibits that testosterone to DHT conversion. I give it to 15-year-old kids just to help with their acne, and it goes away. I've given it to people like Chris Aceto, whose hair has thickened up. So it's really a good product. And if you keep more testosterone, as testosterone converts less to DHT, you're going to have more testosterone available for building muscle. So there's a lot of different tiers of how we enhance testosterone production. A lot of people haven't had an opportunity to try Testalize. Maybe they didn't want to spend the money and they didn't know if it would work or not. Here's your opportunity. Free Testalize if you spend $70 or more after the discount. If you spend $100 or more and you live in the continent of the United States, you even get free shipping. And I'm giving you 30% off the entire website. So you got about 10, 11 hours. I'm telling you, this is a great sale. Check it out. You're going to love this product. You're never going to stop using it.
Second question against those. So that sale right now running live to tonight. The sale expires at 11:59 p.m. U.S. Eastern Standard Time. SpeciesNutrition.com, NY30 promo code, $70 after the discount, and you get Testalize and a Species Shaker Cup, as Dave just mentioned. Second question, again, these first two questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Is your off-season PED protocol the most you would ever put someone on? Would you ever go higher with someone who really wants to push weight up to, like, say, 300 pounds?
Yeah, I think they're referring to the protocol I have in the Dave Palumbo Experience app. So if you guys are app members or not, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you're not an app member, in the app, I put all my articles I've ever written, all my videos I've ever done is in one place. You know, we have all my protocols, off-season, pre-contest. I have cycles, off-season, pre-contest for men, for women. Well, it's such a bevy of great information. And one of the cycles I have in that app is, you know, the off-season mass building, you know, for maximum gains. And, you know, I put the top line numbers that I usually push on people. Is it possible to raise testosterone another 200 milligrams to 1,200 milligrams a week? Yeah, I've done it before. I really wouldn't recommend going over that. So these are dosages, assuming your drugs are up to snuff, you know, because sometimes the drugs are underdosed. But if the drugs are dosed properly, this is really what you should need. If you can't put, you know, maximum muscle on taking 1,000 milligrams of testosterone a week with all the other stuff, then you're either not training properly, you're not eating properly, or you're not resting properly. And that's the message we really have to deliver here. More drugs doesn't equal more muscle gains. If you're taking the amount of drugs that I believe and I know to work and that have worked on me and other people, then something you're doing is wrong probably. It's not the drugs. It's the fact that you're just not consuming enough food, the right foods. You're not training a muscle group the right way. And that's something that you can learn in the Dave Palumbo Experience app. It's $29 a month. Telling you it's a great value. You get me as your coach in your back pocket. I answer everyone's questions in an open forum. And we do an extra Q&A video every week for the app members. So you guys have supported this app the last several years. It's very popular. I have to thank you. We're going into 2025 now, and I hope you guys continue to get some great information from that app.
Before we go to the rest of our questions, Dave, our friends at Titan Medical have a sale doing 10% off all their weight loss therapies. This is a special for the New Year's. If you want to tell the fans more about it.
Yeah, so if you want to use semaglutide, which is like Ozempic, or the tirzepatide, which is Mounjaro, they are giving 10% off of that. Mention RxMuscle Dave Palumbo, and you call TitanMedicalCenter.com. Go to the website, get the phone number. They are, you know, one of the best clinics in the world. The service is second to none. I mean, they really help you out. I mean, if you have questions, you can call them anytime. The doctors are very knowledgeable over there, and they have some great modalities for fat loss. The tefenzacine, I'm always pronouncing this thing wrong, which actually raises neurotransmitters in your brain and takes away the desire to eat rather than slow your digestive tract, is another great fat burner modality that they have. Plus, they have all the growth hormone releasing peptides there. They have if you're looking to burn some fat, and obviously you got to diet with this as well, they have some great modalities that they can prescribe to you at a very, very reduced price over what you would pay from a regular pharmacy if a doctor prescribed the stuff to you. So I would check it out. Once again, tell our friends over at TitanMedicalCenter.com that Dave Palumbo and RxMuscle sent you.
So check it out, TitanMedicalCenter.com. And as mention Dave Palumbo or RxMuscle. We take questions now from our YouTube, from our Instagram, from our Facebook, all our other social media platforms. Akshay Pandey, good to see people doing big things in their lives. He says he's in his final year doing his bachelor in pharmacy. Can you guide me for my future? Like, how can I make more money after pharmacy? What fields can I get involved into? I know this is where we start to get into the deep end. And
Yeah.
most importantly, how can I combine bodybuilding and pharmacy to start my own future business? So how do you start a bodybuilding pharmacy in essence?
Yeah. Well, I think the pharmacy business is booming right now. So I mean, pharmacists get paid a lot of money. So I mean, you can work for anyone. You can start your own pharmacy. You can work for CVS and Walgreens. They get paid well. So that's a good field to go into these days. Obviously, everyone's on medications. As far as starting a business for yourself, you really can't prescribe drugs. So it's, I guess if you maybe went into business with a doctor and a hormone replacement clinic, your knowledge of pharmacy would certainly come in handy. But it's not like you can start writing testosterone prescriptions for people. You're not an MD. So you're limited in one capacity, but you really have a lot of ability to make money because pharmacists are so in demand right now. So I think it was a good field that you went into. And like I said, whether you start your own pharmacy, which I'm sure in today's market is hard to do because the big time pharmacies just have too many people going there, and all the insurance companies are accepted at these big Walgreens and CVS's and Walmart. But even if you work for those guys, I think you'd make a nice living for yourself.
Dave said, like I said, speaking of, Lee Priest made his return to RxMuscle this past Sunday night. Heavy Muscle Radio, live episode of Heavy Muscle Radio, featuring Lee Priest, featuring John Romano. That is live right now on the channel under the live tab. Second question from Beard King Lives, or Beard King Lives, one of the two. Question about posing. I'm going to be doing a show this year and have a posing coach, but I'm curious about who you would recommend for me to watch and study in my spare time who were or are great at posing. Plus, if you know any other online resources for good insights into posing.
Yeah. There's a lot of good posing coaches out there, all over the country, really. I'm obviously really good friends, and I've known Kenny Wallach for, I can't tell you, a million years. He used to come to my house with Evan Centopani, Guy Sisternino, and PJ Braun, back in like 2005, 6. And, we would be posing, and I was working with those guys back in the day, and it was he's been doing this a long time. He's really good. But as far as online resources to watch other posers, I mean, obviously Flex Wheeler was a master poser, but you have to kind of pose according to the physique you have. So like I would never look at Flex Wheeler and copy his posing when I was competing, because I had more of like a mass monster physique. I would look at Dorian Yates, and I would try to emulate like some of his poses, because that's just the kind of physique I had. So you have to be able to mesh with or at least resonate with what you're seeing on that stage. I always like big guys that did entertaining posing routines, and so I always try to entertain. If everyone remembers my routines, I always try to throw some humor in there, and use music that like inspired people from movies. And I did an Incredible Hulk routine and a James Bond routine. So I kind of took the poses that I thought I looked good in from watching other big bodybuilders, and then I incorporated it using my own personality. And I think that's what's important. So you can watch people and get ideas from them. If you have a really classic looking physique, you can copy Melvin Anthony, or if you can move really well, you copy guys like that. If you like the more classic posing, look at Cedric McMillan's posing. I mean, he was amazing on stage. Watch some of his Arnold Classic routines; they were masterful, posing to really heroic type music. So that's something that you can emulate. But to learn the core basic poses, you got to get someone who's a mechanistic guy, like a Kenny, or I know Sheila Brown. There's a lot of different posing coaches all around the country, and I know I'm leaving out a million people that are really good. So I don't have them on the top of my mind. I'm just telling you the people that I know offhand. But it's always good to hire someone, learn the right way to execute the mandatory poses, and then once you're done, you can make them your own.
Question about food tolerances. Is there a way, where was this? To reverse food tolerances? I have a garlic intolerance, for example, that makes me bloat. So it's hard to find the right seasonings and food when I go out. So I mean, there's so many food intolerances, and some have a later onset in life. Is there any way to reverse them or control them?
Yeah, don't avoid them. Look, I don't have a garlic garlic doesn't make me bloat. It just makes me stink. So I try not to eat a lot of garlic because it comes out of my pores. Same thing with onions. So if I go to a Mexican restaurant and I'm getting a chicken fajitas and they make it with chicken, peppers, onions, I tell them hold the onions because it's not that they make me bloat. I just smell like an onion for 2 days. So I don't eat it. Dairy, lactose messes my stomach up and I get gas and diarrhea from it. So I try to avoid as much lactose as possible. You can't make yourself be able to absorb something or digest something that you're intolerant to or that you have an allergy to. Eating it more is not going to help you, and taking some sort of vitamin or enzyme with it is not going to help you. People say, oh, I take the lactase enzyme when I drink milk. It's fine. Then you're not lactose intolerant. I can promise you that if you're lactose intolerant, that lactase enzyme is not going to do anything. I've tried it. So what I try to do is eliminate foods. Luckily, I'm not that intolerant to most foods. The only thing that really bothers me is lactose. And like I said, I smell from garlic and onion. So I don't eliminate it, but I limit how much I use of it so that I don't stink. When you go to the hibachi grill and they cook in front of you, they put a ton of garlic and onion stuff on everything. And I love the taste of it. So if I go, I eat it and I smell for 2 days. But on a regular basis, I try not to eat a lot of garlic and onions. And, but if I want the health benefits of garlic, they do have the garlic they sell that is I guess they take the smell out of it somehow. I don't know how they do it, but as far as, like I said, trying to force your body to become, responsive to something, really impossible.
Question about esters. Does it really matter using short ester like propionate rather than enanthate in a cutting phase specifically?
I always, by convention, did that when I first started. So I would do test cypionate and enanthate or sustanon in the off season, and then pre-contest the last 6 weeks I would go to test propionate. And all I know is that when I would inject propionate, it would hurt like crazy, and I'd get sore every place I put it, and I would sometimes get the flu-like symptoms from it, and I would endure it just because I thought that's what you needed to do. And then I thought to myself, I'm like, and I didn't know this because when you first think test propionate, test cypionate, it sounds like two different drugs, but they're the same drug. Testosterone is testosterone, whether it's cypionate, enanthate, propionate, suspension, it's testosterone. It's just how fast the drug releases. So I'm like, well, it shouldn't matter if I use a long-acting ester or a short-acting ester as to how I look. It's testosterone is testosterone. Plus I'm taking other drugs with it anyway. So I started experimenting and just staying on cypionate or enanthate, right up to the show, and I wouldn't use propionate. And you know what? I wasn't sore. I didn't have, bruises everywhere. And you know what? I looked exactly the same because testosterone is testosterone. And so the water or the fluid retention that comes with it, you're going to get rid of at the end with a diuretic anyway, and fluid restriction. So it's not a big deal. You're still on testosterone. And so I realized that it doesn't really matter what ester you use. Now, when we talk about trenbolone acetate versus trenbolone enanthate, long-acting versus short-acting, for some reason, acetate has better leaning out, glycogen storing effects because it acts so quickly. Remember, high androgens cause increased glycogen storage. So because the tren acetate hits you so quickly, you can, take a shot and eat something, and it literally will help, glycogenate the muscle faster. So I think people see better results from tren acetate pre-contest because they have a lean body. Every time they eat, they see the results of it pretty quickly. So tren acetate is a good pre-contest drug, whereas propionate doesn't. It doesn't matter whether you take propionate or cypionate. I personally, if propionate bothers you, I would not take it. If it doesn't bother you, then use it. But otherwise, you have to take a lot more propionate, to get the same amount of cypionate results, because you're gonna have to take 200 milligrams of propionate probably every other day because it only lasts that long. So it doesn't matter what testosterone you use. And once again, I had to learn that by trial and error. I made that mistake early in my career too, but it really does not matter.
Let's go to Akib. Tips for an overactive gut / IBS. I'm either pooping or farting all day.
Well, number one, I would start with taking a good fiber supplement like Fiberlize 2 times a day. Get on a regular, regimen of that, because a lot of times farting is caused by you not getting rid of waste from your colon. It's kind of sitting there too long, and you start releasing it as gas. If you're moving it out of your body, you're not going to have gas. You're going to also, your stomach's going to be a lot flatter. Number 2, sometimes you can be on fiber and you still get gassy, and sometimes that'll happen to me. And what I'll do is I'll add a probiotic. Now, whether I use my protolized pudding, I start using that at night, before bed, to get the 7 strains of probiotics in there, or I get a direct, I go to natron.com and I get their megadophilus or bifidofactor, and I'll add a half a teaspoon into my Fiberlize at night for maybe a week straight. I usually alternate between the two of those that I mentioned. And that seems to really fix me up a lot of times too. Sometimes you wipe out the good bacteria in your colon. Could be because you're on antibiotics, you could be sick, or you never know what can cause that to happen. So every once in a while, I kind of do a reboot of the good bacteria. The good thing to do is when you mix it with Fiberlize fiber is the food source for the probiotic. So it's kind of like you're putting the probiotic and the food all in at once. So you kind of reseeding the lawn, so to speak, of your colon, and that usually fixes the problem.
Question about split abs. It's from Tony Wynn, 50 years old, active in the gym, but I've got an injury called diastasis recti, abdominal split around 3 centimeters. Not really noticeable except when sitting up. I have different opinions from don't lift to small surgery, and also don't worry, carry on. What would be your advice?
Don't worry, carry on. That's probably the best advice, because a lot of guys get it as you get older. It stretches out that linea alba, which is between the rectus muscles in the middle. And as long as it's not hurting you and bothering you, just leave it. I mean, it cosmetically might not look ideal for you. You might not like it. I know Armando DB had that, but he's had surgeries on it. The surgeries just don't fix it, because it just kind of splits open again. If you're working out hard and you're lifting heavy, it just doesn't take. And you know what? It's a nasty surgery. They have to try to sew everything back together, and it's not worth it. If it doesn't hurt and there's no negative to it other than the cosmetic look of it, I would not mess with it. I'm just telling you, you're looking for trouble, because you're going to look for perfection. It's never going to look perfect. You're not going to be happy. You'll wind up doing it 2 or 3 times, and then you'll say, you know what, I'm just going to leave it. And you could have just left it right from the beginning and not have to deal with it.
Okay, a lot of questions about test propionate. This one is about switching to daily injections of test propionate the last few weeks before a show. I've heard a few old school guys, including Dorian, mention that it doesn't aromatize as much, though I remember you saying that that's not the case.
Testosterone is testosterone. It's going to aromatize. The reason why propionate theoretically might not aromatize as much is because it doesn't last that long. It's only in your system for 48 hours. So, but it can still aromatize. Anyone who can handle propionate every day, because it does leave you sore for most people, can take it. There's no big deal. Look, you can take enanthate every single day, small dosages. Guys microdose it all the time. Personally, I would rather not take a shot every single day. You become a pincushion after a while. Every other day is plenty, And like I said, I don't like the fact that if you don't do propionate regularly, you get ups and downs. Remember, cypionate, enanthate, even sustanon has a nice steady curve that even if you missed a day or during the middle of the day, you're not going to get a dip. Whereas propionate, it goes and then it comes down. It goes, it comes down. So you get ups and downs with it. I don't like inconsistencies like that. And I don't want to have to take a shot of test every single day. It's not a fun thing to do, especially pre-contest. Once again, you become a pincushion. You have no fat in your body. You start seeing welts all over the place. It's not fun. It hurts. Propionate hurts. I don't care who you are. You might not get a big, huge swelling, but it does leave you a little sore. And you don't need to be sore all over your body. It's the last thing you need right pre-contest. You're already aggravated as it is. You're going to be sore from all these shots you're taking. I just don't think it's worth it. If you like it and you do it, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not going to hurt you. Will it make you better? I don't think so. I think it'll be about the same results. But if you like the idea of doing it and you like taking shots daily and it doesn't leave you welted up, then do it. There's no right or wrong in this answer, because like I said, testosterone is testosterone. So if you want to do the propionate, fine. If you want to do cypionate or enanthate, that's just as good, And the dosages will be the same, essentially. It's just whatever ester you choose to use. Some people use a little of each. Some people stay on a little sustanon or a little, enanthate to keep their level steady, and then they put the propionate on top of that. That's fine too. Doesn't really matter. It's not going to change how you look.
Question about DECA. When taking DECA, will the water weight go away after use? I guess the question is, after an extended period of usage, he's afraid of water gain after DECA use.
Look, all anabolic steroids can cause a little bit of fluid retention, because that's what they do, and that's why you get strong, and that's why you look good. how much fluid retention is dependent on what you're eating. I know that sounds insane, but it's true. If you're on low carbs, you won't see any water retention. Matter of fact, if you're on my ketogenic diet, you get 0 water retention, okay? Because carbs make you hold water. So you might become more sensitive to fluid retention when you're on steroids, testosterone, DECA, whatever, EQ, Dianabol. But if you're not eating high carbs and you're eating low carbs, you're not going to see the fluid retention because your glycogen stores are low. If you're eating a lot of carbs, you could be on 1 shot of test a week and you're going to be more bloated than you naturally would be because that's what these drugs do. You know, you're going to retain a little fluid. But when you're pre-contest, you're on low carbs. And when you carb up at the end, you're taking diuretics and restricting fluid. So that's not an issue. It never is an issue. I've never seen anyone who had excessive fluid retention when their body fat levels are very low. It just doesn't happen. It's off season when you're eating a ton of food and eating some junk food mixed in there to try to grow. That's when you see the fluid retention. And you can get that from 500 milligrams of test as easily as you can get it from taking 3 grams of gear total. It's just a matter of, what you're eating.
Question about Rich Piana's, inquisitive one. It's been more than a handful of years now since Rich Piana's passing. While he became a YouTube sensation, he also represented the bad parts of this industry, in his words. Knowing what you do about health, physiques, bodybuilding, and gear, what would you guess he was abusing? What is your understanding of his? I mean, again, we could talk about he's asking about particular causes of death, but
yeah,
I guess there was an arc between, I guess, what he was abusing and then his eventual demise.
So Rich, never really advocated dangerous stuff for other people to do, but he did tell you the crazy shit he did because that sensationalistic stuff, and we don't even know if half the stuff he was telling people was real. I think it was a lot for social media purposes to get a big following. And so he was a performer. He was an actor. He said it by his own, he admitted it. So I don't think he was giving bad advice to people because I don't think people really were trying to, I mean, I'm sure there would be some people that would copy him, which was ridiculous, but he was more of a sensationalist. But if you actually talked to him in person and asked him what to take or what to eat, he would tell you, the same stuff that all bodybuilders do. He would never tell you to take insane amounts of gear. That just wasn't him. What caused his own death? Who the heck knows? I mean, he was very big. I mean, he was obviously in his 40s. Pushing that kind of weight, on your body is definitely stressful. It could have been a heart attack. It could have been some other cause of death that has not been determined yet. It seemed on his autopsy that he was actually a lot healthier than people thought, whether he put stuff in his arms and shoulders and, I mean, that stuff was obviously not steroids. That was, enhancements, whether you want to call them implants or injectable implants or not. I don't know if that was healthy or not, but that certainly didn't kill him. What killed him was something, spontaneous, whether it be, like I said, heart related or something else. We just don't know. There was no substances in his body when they did a toxicology on him. So that's why I was very suspicious when he did pass. I'm not saying when he was doing the things he was doing recreationally were safe, but I don't know if they necessarily killed him. I think it was bad timing and something obviously went wrong, and it was his time. That's the only thing I could really say. It's suspicious that on the autopsy nothing came up. Usually when someone like that passes, they'll find a cause of death. They never really did, and that's, I think, why people still speculate as to what might have happened to him.
That's going to do for this episode of As a Reminder. Right now at speciesnutrition.com, this is the final day of our New Year's sale. So it's the first sale of the new year. It's a 2-day sale, so it was also the last sale of 2024. But nonetheless, the sale will expire at 11:59 p.m. U.S. Eastern Standard Time. So by the time this episode goes up, you're going to have about 10, 11 hours to take advantage of the sale. 30% off the entire website, speciesnutrition.com, using the promo code NY30. Spend $70 or more after discount. You get a free bottle of Testalize as well as a free Species Shaker cup. Take advantage of this deal. I don't know when the next one's going to be. It might be a few weeks, so you're going to want to take advantage. 30% off the entire website. So your chance to stock up right now at speciesnutrition.com. We're going to drop the link as well as a promo code and all the particulars right here in the article description below. On behalf of the RxMuscle family, we wish you and your family, your loved ones, a happy new year, a great 2025. And we can't wait to see you all kill it in all your goals, all your fitness goals, all your professional, personal goals, whatever it is that you have planned over the course of the next 12 months. If you haven't already done so, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. If you like what you're watching, hit the like button, comment below. Of course, the Arnold Classic is now in a matter of 2 months. So obviously we're going to get the engines revved up in terms of preview content. We're going to have stuff on our Instagram as well as here on the YouTube channel, Iron Debate, preview segments, everything that we do over the course of the next few weeks to get you prepped, not only for the Arnold Classic, but for the contest season in general. So if you haven't already done so, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. You're not going to miss anything that we have coming up. For Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.